You are listening to Golden Otter Divinations, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Tune in 9 a.m. Pacific the first Friday of every month as Autumn helps you manifest your dreams by connecting to loved ones in spirit, empowering you to find both physical and spiritual healing. Are you ready to transform your life and connect to divine guidance through practical strategies? Golden Otter Divinations is the place to find engaging interviews with medical experts, practicing mediums, intuitives, healers, and many more. Now, here's your host, Autumn Seibel.
Hi everyone, I'm Autumn and you're listening to Golden Otter Divinations. Stay with me for the next hour as we explore where the metaphysical meets the mainstream. Join us live each first Friday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, when we have new, informative, and engaging interviews with medical experts, practicing mediums, intuitives, healers, and many more to help uplift, educate, and empower listeners like you to find physical and spiritual healing. So today's episode is planting wealthy roots with the cycles of the new and full moon to change your mind about anything holding you back. Playing small serves no one, so step into the light with Kornelia and Autumn as we discuss what it means to plant wealthy roots and ground into the reality that you can create and live in unlimited abundance when you simply decide to change your mind. This personal interview will give you a behind-the-scenes look at the inaugural Change Your Mind Summit that Autumn and Kornelia have manifested into reality with the collaborative power of 11 incredible women leaders. This is your chance to peek behind the scenes to meet the hearts behind the minds that are bringing you this life-changing personal growth summit. You can register for free today at changeyourmind.us to join live or catch the replay. So the audio that you're about to hear is a little bit shaky because it's me calling in live from Africa, and I really appreciate you taking the time to just bear with the call and listen as I interview Kornelia Stephanie, the galactic citizen who's highly intuitive, unapologetic, playful, courageous, strong, and full of enthusiasm for life. I really can't say enough about Kornelia. She's somebody who came into my life about a year ago and holds space for women as they ground into a wealthy, abundant mindset and not just the theoretical ideas of that, but the real, true lived experience. She's passionate about humanity sovereignty and establishing authority over one's life as an empowered creation. She's the founder of the Empowered Network, and a new generation of women and men who are leading in their self-actualization. So sit back and relax and enjoy this behind-the-scenes sneak peek of what it took to bring the Change Your Mind Summit to life. Enjoy.
So, ladies, I'm going to introduce to you, yoo-hoo, this wonderful woman who I met last year, and I am so honored to introduce you to Autumn. She is a practicing medium and manifestation mindset mama. She has two beautiful little girls. I think one is 3 and one is 6, if I'm correct. And they just moved to Lilongwe, Malawi, in rural Africa with her incredible spouse as part of their unfolding journey. Today, Autumn is going to share a bit about how she came into practice of mediumship after the murder of her older brother brought her to her knees in deep grief. Through practicing mediumship to find peace with her brother's death, and then later using the practice of conscious conception with her 2 daughters, she has come full circle in understanding the balance of living life to the fullest while confidently knowing that our loved ones are waiting for us in this space we transition to after the process some call death. Welcome, Autumn.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for bearing with me. Like Kornelia said, I am calling live from Africa. We just moved here a few months ago from Washington, D.C. And now we are in Lilongwe, Malawi, which is in like the southern part of Africa. So my connection drops or is bad, I apologize. And I guess I'll just kind of keep going because I'm not seeing any feedback. So we're doing the Change Your Mind Summit that's coming up on June 11th. And as that process has been unfolding, we've had to reach out to people to ask different questions about what exactly it is that we do. And somebody sent me a question that said, when did you or how did you realize that you're a medium? Was there anything specific that happened throughout your life that made you realize that you could communicate with spirit? Did you pursue it or did it pursue you? And were there any signs? And that one question, I was like, it's part of my journey that I've never really openly shared. And when I was 16, my older brother was murdered overseas. He was serving as a contractor in Iraq. And it was 2003. It was during like the very first invasion of the war. The United States was collectively in grief over 9/11, and our world was changing. I was 16 years old. And for me, the moment that my life changed was my brother was killed on his 31st birthday, which was December 14th. And in that moment, I just thought, like, what in the world? Like, how does that happen? There's 365 days in a year. How was he killed on his birthday? He was 2 weeks from coming home, and I just had so many questions. And that process of understanding his death and moving through my grief was when I started to become comfortable with mediumship, because I was not raised with this understanding. I was not really taught one way or the other to fear it or not fear it. I just had no idea what it was. And kind of thought like you had to approach anything in that space, like from a scientific or medical perspective. And so his passing served to be kind of my entry point into it. And anyways, then 16 years later, I learned everything there was to learn. I realized that people never really die. They just transition to a different space. And getting comfortable in connecting to that space was what brought me through the grief process, so that I can now hold space for other people who are in that place. It was kind of something I was scared of for a long time, because if you don't understand what's happening, it can be really terrifying. And then if you try to explain it to somebody or people who don't understand it or don't have a framework for it, it can be labeled crazy, medicated, a lot of things can happen. And so my journey has been one of consciously and continually stepping out of the shadow and saying, no, this is my truth, this is my life, and this is how I'm going to live it. And being really grounded in my beliefs about our ability to connect to our loved ones on the other side. So that's a little bit about how I came into the practice of mediumship. And so for me, the opposite of grief when you're dealing with a loved one's passing or anyone who is close to you, especially a passing where there's no answers. My brother was murdered overseas. We were really lucky just to get his body back, let alone know who killed him, why they killed him. Was he okay in those moments before and after? There's so many aspects of the transition process that my family and I personally had to reconcile with, because nobody was going to give us those answers. Those answers were not coming. We had to find them ourselves. And so for me, over the process of my, as I've grown in my mediumship, I was not a mother, and I'm so thankful to be a woman in this lifetime and to be able to have carried 2 lives to be the channel through which life came. And I had dreams about them, and I connected with their spirits on the other side. And I thought, my husband and I had been for about 5 years, but we weren't actually planning it. And I'm breaking up again. Hopefully it comes back in. And so I started connecting to my daughters on the other side through this practice called conscious conception. And it's this idea where you can open I knew I was pregnant before a test would ever tell me, before a doctor could ever tell me, before anyone could ever tell me. I knew it for myself. And for me, that was the opposite of grief. it was the creation of new life. And it was kind of this balancing of what it means to be a medium in my life, because I got to see the other side of it. I didn't just have to see the death side of what it means to be a mediumship and connecting to people we've lost. I got to connect to people who are joining the party. And early on in my mediumship, another medium up in Lilydale, really, wise older woman said to me, honey, when folks die here, we have funerals and it's so sad. But on the other side, wait, what happens when a baby transitions? And she basically said it's the opposite, that when we're having a celebration of life, welcoming new friend, have a good trip. We'll see you when you come back. And so that took away a lot of the sadness and heaviness, and be grounded in this idea that it's not the end, and the answer is only 10 minutes of the spotlight. I don't think I need another 20. I guess to kind of keep going on the journey, I suppose, with mediumship, something that I noticed in that space was, again, that people could get kind of caught in this dependent relationship with seeking guidance outside of themselves. And that's why for me, for a while, I never did private readings until the last few years, after I'd found that balance of knowing that new life always springs forward, new life always springs forward, new life always springs forward. And I didn't like the idea of people becoming dependent on a medium to get that connection with their loved ones. And so I started really exploring this idea of manifestation and the manifestation mindset and what exactly that means. And that was how I got into living my life by the cycles of the moon, and and through my e-course and my membership forum that I offer, I help educate folks on how they can move through grief and connect with their loved ones on their own without having to go. Like I said, I just don't like that idea of having to be dependent on another person, because it's such an intimate, personal relationship that you have with your loved ones on the other side.
Yes. So tell us about, over these last, like right now, you're really fully stepping into your mediumship. This is like I think, when was that? Somewhere I just recently introduced you. Oh, I know. We were all on the Dr. Pat show, and I introduced you as a medium, I think for the first time out loud in public. So now you're really fully embracing this part of yourself. But tell us, just recently, what you were experiencing, what you were going through to get to this next phase.
Yeah. So about a year ago, when my show on Transformation Talk Radio started, I had that I was a developing medium in my bio. And I say developing medium because people say practicing medium. I say developing because I'm also a licensed educator. I'm a high school social studies teacher, and I build curriculum. And I just believe that we're all always developing. We're all always learning. And so that was the term that I used for it. But like you said, like nobody ever really was speaking that out loud. I was never being introduced as that. And I was more or less hiding behind the moon. And I was hiding behind my manifestation rituals, and my way of connecting people with mediumship was a little bit more, it was like embedded. Like you had to dig into who I was and what I was about to find that information. It was not at the forefront, and it definitely didn't have a light shining on it, because it can be scary to be held out as exactly as you are. I mean, when I say that, I'm bearing my soul. I'm bearing my soul to you women that are on the call. And imagine bearing your soul in this space with 11 people and speaking your truth, and then doing it on a platform where you don't know who is going to hear it, how far that message is going to go. And that can really bring up a lot of a shadow, which is the safe place to be. And it's where you can go and hide when you just don't want to own those parts of yourself, or I don't know, fear of retribution or whatever it may be. So as we prepared for this summit, I had a lot of anger to deal with and a lot of fear to move through, because I don't want to play small in this lifetime. I don't want to, you know, look back years from now and go, gosh, what if I had just done this in my 30s when it was the time to do it? Um, Dana, you were talking about being a cancer survivor. And when I've connected with survivors or people who have actually succumbed or passed from disease that has manifested in their body, that's always one of the messages that I get is, it, to me personally, is, honey, don't let this, they always call me honey, don't let this manifest in your body. Don't trap this in your body, because your body will create something that, if it's, not, if you're not expressing the unique characteristics of your soul, your body will be that indicator that comes on and says, hey, get help, you've got to clear this, because disease manifests, I think disease of the soul can manifest in the physical body. So yeah, does that answer your question, Cornelia, about moving from the shadow to the light?
Yes, I love the revealing, and I love the realization of everything, and how how you stepped from, again, you stepped into something bigger than you right now, and then how it brought the shadow up. I bet many of us can relate to it, because that's how we release the energy, is by seeing it. And I think even with this last Scorpio full moon, when was that, a month ago? It really revealed a lot. But it's always through our experiences that we see, okay, this is the highest part, and now the shadow is revealed. Another part of myself to love free, another part of myself to release and let go, right? And now you're coming out to the world, and you're really fully stepping into your mediumship, and you're going to be making money. This is the process of what you're beginning now, making money, doing what it is that you love. Tell us a little bit about your environment in Africa that you manifested and that you created, and where you live on this 1 acre. Give us I see the visual, but give us the visual.
Okay, so this is not to brag. This is more just to show, like, if you can dream it, you can literally achieve it. So about a year ago, I started writing my ebook, which is also has a members forum, and an e-course that I'm launching during the summit. Is called Lunar Manifestations, A Medium's Guide to Manifesting by the Cycles of the New Moon. This isn't a plug. I'm just going to, by explaining the book, it explains how I got to this space right now. And I started tracking the cycles of the new and the full moon every 2 weeks. It's like clockwork. The moon is the Earth's only natural satellite, and you can see it from wherever you are in this big, beautiful world. And since my husband is active duty Army, we tend to move about this big, beautiful world a lot. So we were in DC at the time, and as much as I loved that space, our family was growing, and we knew that we needed to leave that space so that we could keep evolving and growing as individuals and as a family unit. And through tracking the cycles of the new and full moon, I started planting these intentions, like, okay, wherever we go next, because we were in this place, this little row house in DC, which had a beautiful view. And I'd manifested that. And I always thought to myself, well, shoot, if I could manifest this, what else am I capable of? And one of the things was like, oh, I would garden. And then I thought, wouldn't it be great to have affordable childcare? And man, wouldn't it be great to be able to afford really delicious food, and to have help me run the term vortex. I just the energy out there. I put the wishes out there. I planted the seeds. And over the course of a year, a random assignment in Africa popped up for my spouse that we immediately said yes to, having no background information on where we were going, not knowing if it was going to be a really great choice beyond it was good for his career, and we were up for the adventure. Lilongwe, Malawi, I'd never heard of it. I actually said yes before I looked it up on a map, and then I looked up on a map and I was like, oh boy. But the whole time, as soon as that came into our reality, I just said, I know this is what I've been asking for. And I didn't have to think about it because it just felt so right. Everything about it felt right, even though logically it made no sense. Nobody could really understand why I would leave a really great job in curriculum development. Because like I mentioned, I was an educator for 10 years, and then I moved into curriculum development. I had a corporate job and I was being like paid the most I'd ever been paid. And, realizing those, like I was living the wealthy lifestyle that society told me I should. This transition was stepping out in faith that the universe always has my back, and planting seeds of abundance. You don't know how big the harvest is going to be until you step in. Somebody said, how did you both come to say yes immediately? I couldn't see the rest of that, but I don't know. We just said yes. We looked, actually, it was an email. He said, Malawi 2019 question mark. And I responded, yeah, I'm there, babe. I think I might have said like, yeah, I'm there. I'd follow you to the moon, which is what I always say to him. Because he's my soulmate. We've been married 12 years now. And I just, when I feel it in my heart and it feels really light, I just know that that's the right answer for me. And so now that we're here, I've shared this with Cornelia. We live on like 2 acres of land. There's literally an established garden that we're able to plant a lot of fruits and vegetables in for people in the community, because Malawi is a really impoverished nation. It has the nation's third, or the world's third lowest GDP, and so their food scarcity is a real thing here. And having this garden where I'm able to grow, my little herb garden and a few crops that I enjoy is nice. But the fact that I have an acre of land to grow sustainable crops that people in this area, even 3 miles from my home, are dying of starvation. To know that like I've created a space where I just happened to say, I said yes, and I showed up in this space. And now these metaphorical seeds are quite literally physical seeds, physical fruits of abundance that just by saying yes and showing up in this space, I can share. Now, would somebody else have ended up in this exact home had my husband not taken the position and all this? Yeah, sure, maybe. But would that person have been me? No. And would that person have decided to use their personal property to plant seeds? I don't know, but I know that I said yes, and I can see the fruit. I can see, taste, sense, smell the fruit of these metaphoric seeds of abundance that I planted. And something that I shared with Cornelia the other day when I was getting ready to do the summit and kind of like getting comfortable with this idea, like this is my journey, and I'm a people pleaser, and I'm always so scared of judgment and condemnation, and I don't know. I get scared sharing. I fear backlash. I don't know. That's my story. But I had a dream the other night after talking to Cornelia about planting wealthy roots, and like, what does that actually mean? Like, what does that mean? Very personal. I had a dream that my cervix was growing roots, and I woke up in the dream and was like, what? Like double checked, just because that's a kind of a terrifying thing to dream. But in the dream state still, I was kind of like, what is this growing from my cervix? And I realized, oh, these are just your wealthy roots, your divine feminine wealthy roots you're now in the time when these can really like soak into the ground and plant. And as much as I've manifested and brought forth now that I'm excited about, I'm so joyful to see what comes next, because I said yes to a destiny point moving here. And every single day, something comes up where I'm able to be a vessel. This morning, somebody said that they were going to an orphanage where children in a nearby village are, this is hard to hear, ladies, but they're being buried with their mothers who die in childbirth. Living children, living infants are being buried with their dead mothers because the village cannot sustain the cost of feeding an infant if the mother is not alive to breastfeed it. That's as real as it gets. And just by being here, the very least that I can do is send money, send food, send a crib. I was able to send a crib, and that crib will provide a bed for 4 to 5 children. I don't know. It's just yes.
Autumn, how many people do you employ?
At full time, we employ 3 folks who, by virtue of us being their employer, they are in the top 10% of income earners in the country. And what we pay 3 individuals in 1 month is less than we were paying for 1 month of childcare for one of our children in DC. So this money was leaving me energetically, physically already in DC. And now here, that same amount goes to gainful employment and dignified employment for at least 3 individuals. And the 3 individuals that we employ all are the primary income earners in their family.
And what is
And it feels good.
what is it that they do for you?
One is a housekeeper / nanny. We tag team with taking care of the kids. And the other is a gardener to keep this big palace that we have been blessed to reside in temporarily, to keep it up and going. And then the other is a chef, and he helps me in the kitchen. And he helps like with harvesting our vegetables, making sure they get distributed. If you've ever met me, you know that nobody is not gonna, like, if I'm eating, you're eating. If I've got food in my fridge, you've got food in your fridge. Like if I've got an extra baby shirt, you've got an extra baby shirt. So there's, I would say, probably 10 people in our life that we are able to just be really, really generous with here in a way that is easy for us and doesn't drain us and is reciprocal. And so I guess the underlying message is that when you plant the seeds and you know deep in your heart, like what your guiding intention is, God, the universe, source, infinite intelligence, whatever that higher power that you believe in will put you exactly where you're supposed to be to help as many people as possible, because we don't get to take any of it with me. If there's anything that I've learned from my mediumship, it's that. You do not get to take it with you. None of it. Not your body, not your money. The only thing that you get to take is the energy and the karma and the essence of your soul. And when I've connected with folks on the other side who've had these really big, generous hearts, you feel it. It's like they're still here because a part of that energy is embedded in the people who loved them and who they loved. And yeah, I don't know.
Autumn, what is it that I can say? Everybody is completely inspired. That's all I can say, is that we're completely inspired. I feel the inspiration. I'm going to open it up to the ladies to say something to you. We have just a few minutes before we're going to close the call. But I do want to say that Autumn is opening the summit, the Change Your Mind Summit. She's one of the first speakers. And as you can see, that's so perfect because how dynamic and absolutely gorgeous and inspiring and brilliant and awesome she is. So please, if you have not signed up for our Change Your Mind Summit, changeyourmind.us, please go sign up for it and please share it with your friends, share it on your social media, because as you can see, this is going to change a lot of people's lives for the better. So, ladies, the floor is yours.
Oh, I just got to jump in real fast here. My mother recently passed away, and I had felt connected with her after she had passed, and I had actually gone astral traveling before she died and met with her before she went through the light. And then afterwards, was able to still be in connection and feel her do her life review and see things in a different way. It was very amazing. And then for about 2.5 weeks, I have regularly had dreams that she was communicating with me, and it's so magical. And I think it's really helped me a lot to not be like depressed or grieving. Like I feel like my relationship with her is better than it was before because she can understand things now that I tried to explain to her and she didn't get. But now she's like, oh yeah, I understand. So
Yeah.
I just want to say good job for what you're doing, Autumn, that people need to hear this stuff. It is so important. And I really want to encourage you to keep going with what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. That's how I first started communicating with my brother. He would come to me in dreams and we would go flying. And I thought, this has to be a dream because we're flying. But I would wake up and it would feel so vivid and so real that I was like, how is that not what I think it was, So I'm so glad you got to, or you're continuing to connect with your mom.
And I'd like to connect with you sometime. I have a few questions for you.
For sure. For sure. I think my email's on the group email, so just send me an email.
Okay, I'll find it.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Kornelia. Anybody else want to talk?
What an inspiration you are to all of us, and just being able to do the little bit you do and how it can have that ripple effect on so many lives, and the huge generosity and the bright light you are is touching and amazing. So go girl. I'm your biggest fan here watching you fly. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
One of the things that I told Autumn when she first told me that she was going to Africa, the insight that I got is that she's going there to raise the vibration and the abundance in Africa. That she's there to model and to be that lady leader, to be that empowered woman, and to show what it's like when women own their power, when women own their mediumship, when women own the gifts of their divinity, that they can feed and that they can support others in ways that we haven't fully stepped into. But I felt like she was called there for that purpose. And she's doing a magnificent job. Oh my God.
Thanks, Kornelia. There's so many times in my day when just being the things that come naturally to me, even just as a Western woman, not even with mediumship, none of that, driving a car, being in an equal relationship with my spouse, earning money, all of these things, being a loving, just like space holding mother. People are watching me. And I would normally be so scared and like, oh, why are they watching? Are they judging? Are they judging? And now I'm realizing it's like, no, they just want to know what that is and see how that looks. And if that's an option that is also available to them. And I hope that through my lived experience, I can show that, yes, it is. It's available to all of us.
You are leading in your lady leadership, and you're just getting started. I can't believe you've been there for what, 5 minutes? You haven't been there long at all.
Yeah. True. But that's the thing. Like when you show up for your divine appointments, like I showed up right on time. The universe was like, oh, good, you're here. We've got some work to do. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. Let's get to work. But it doesn't feel like work because, again, it just feels like exactly where I'm supposed to be in any given moment. And like the things that I would normally struggle with, like, oh, should I donate this crib? Who should I give it to? Somebody's like, hey, I'm going to an orphanage today. Does anybody have anything? And they live 2 houses down from me. Please swing by. I've got oodles of stuff for babies. Take it. And there's no work required. And that's what Kornelia was talking about at the very beginning of the call, is this energy of allowing, and just, there's no work when it's what you're supposed to be doing. There's no work. So
Thank you.
Awesome, ladies. Well, it's been a magnificent call. Even with the technology issues, we moved beyond the old boundaries and we released disappointment of whatever wasn't happening. And thank you, everyone, for showing up and for celebrating Autumn with us. And you can see what an amazing role model she is for our future, and the daughters and the women that she's raising, and the difference that she's making in Africa that's rippling out. And so my goal is, I'm planning on going there and we're going to do something together. And I can't wait. And what really inspires me when I listen to what she's doing is, it seems like there's people there that are really open and they want the help and they need the help. And I think that is the message for us, that there's people there that are ready for us, that are ready for what it is that you have to offer, that want to hear what it is that your wisdom, your gifts, and move into that vibration and know that there's people there that are wanting what it is that you have to say. So
Yes, and you are leading women out of emotional poverty too, just by modeling, just by your example.
Yes.
thank you, Dana. Thank you. But you know what, ladies, I really couldn't do it without this group. I came into this group a couple months before, I think maybe like September, October, and we just found out that we might be moving to Africa. And we found out in August, or we were asked in August. We immediately said yes, but it takes a few months for the details to work themselves out. But by November, we knew for sure that we were going. And I just sort of come into this group, and I don't think, had I not had this anchoring force, this anchoring space, and really anchored into this divine, feminine, wealthy, rooted mentality, that I would have been able to come here and not fall into a like a judgment spiral, or like an unworthiness mindset, like, oh, like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve all this? Because the opposite of planting wealthy roots is enjoying the fruit. And if you can't enjoy the fruit, why would you plant the roots? And so being connected to this energetic space with all of you beautiful women is that I was able to, or I still am able to every day go, it's okay to enjoy this. It's okay to enjoy this, because there's enough for everyone. And I'm sharing my harvest. And that's really what it's about. So thank you, ladies.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say, when you were talking about where you are, you're in Africa, and part of my intention for this tribe is for women from around the world, that they can join us from all time zones and wherever they are, so that we can empower the leading ladies, like Dana's favorite phrase is that we can empower women to rise up into their deep divine feminine, rooted in spiritual and material abundance. And that's in stepping into our full creativity. And that is being present with deep grief, deep grief, while at the same time stepping into the gift of our divinity, because we are all that. We are all that.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that behind the curtain peek at the Change Your Mind Summit, which again, you can register for at changeyourmind.us. And I will be opening up the summit on June 11th, when I cannot wait to meet you and take your questions live. So thank you so much for listening, and be sure to follow Golden Otter Divinations on Instagram, where you can check in and let me know about your golden moments so Spirit and I can cheer you on. If you'd like to contact me, buy my new book, Lunar Manifestations, A Medium's Guide to Manifesting by the Cycles of the Moon, or join my co-creation forum, Lunar Manifestations, you can visit my website, goldenotter.us. That's golden like the precious metal, and otter like the precious animal. While you're there, please take a moment to sign up for my bi-weekly email and get up-to-date info on all things Golden Otter. You can also take a look at the Coming Soon page, which has information about my e-course that will be launching during the summit on June 11th. I am so excited about that. So, thank you so much for tuning in to Golden Otter Radio. I had an amazing time sharing this sacred co-creation space with you. If you ever want to get on my calendar for a private validation session, I'll be opening those up in the fall. I do only offer 12, so be sure to visit my website to get on the wait list for that. Thank you so much for joining me in this space. Have a great week, and I will feel your positive vibes back here next time. With love and light, Autumn.
Thank you for listening to Golden Otter Divinations, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Tune in the first Friday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Exploring where the metaphysical meets the mainstream, Golden Otter Divinations helps you draw in the abundance that is yours by divine right. For more information or to listen to this show, visit goldenotter.us. That's golden like the precious metal, and otter like the precious animal.us.